He calmly said, "In that case, I will personally go to Anyang." Xiao Yuaner could hardly believe her ears. In her memory, Master had not left Jingting Mountain for a very long time. Though no one spoke of it openly, they all suspected it was due to his declining health. She never expected him to personally intervene in her family's matter. "This must remain confidential," Lu Zhou added. "Leave a letter for your senior brothers. If anything arises, I will send word." Xiao Yuaner quickly prepared the letter while Lu Zhou adjusted his appearance, making subtle changes to disguise himself. As long as he was not recognized, it would save considerable trouble. Once ready, he summoned Whitesard. Above Jingting Mountain, auspicious lights shimmered across the sky, and soon a mystical beast slowly revealed itself. It resembled a flying deer, covered in pure white fur, with wings along its abdomen, and radiant multicolored light surrounding its body. Whitesard circled once before descending gracefully before them. Lu Zhou extended his hand calmly, motioning for Xiao Yuaner to mount first. Startled, she hesitated, claiming she did not dare ride Master's mount. "It is fine. Sit in front of me," Lu Zhou reassured her. At Whitesard's speed, they would reach Anyang in less than an hour. Flying consumed a cultivator's energy, and while divine abilities like Soul Chase could surpass a mount's speed, they drained even more energy and were unsuitable for long travel. In the cultivation world, capturing and taming a legendary mount like Whitesard was already extraordinary, let alone riding one. There was even a saying, if you were not born with a legendary mount, you would never have one in your lifetime. "Hold tight," Lu Zhou reminded. Whitesard let out a clear cry and transformed into a streak of light, heading toward Anyang. Xiao Yuaner sat gleefully on its back, filled with excitement, but Lu Zhou felt some discomfort. His cultivation was still too low, and the high speed strained his body. Soon the city of Anyang came into view. Lu Zhou had Whitesard land outside the city so he could steady himself. Meanwhile, Xiao Yuaner continued stroking the beast, praising its beauty with shining eyes. To avoid attention, Lu Zhou quickly dismissed Whitesard. They changed into ordinary clothes at a farmhouse outside the city and concealed their auras before entering Anyang on foot. "Master, you look like an old farmer now," Xiao Yuaner teased. Lu Zhou waved his hand dismissively. "From now on, address me as grandfather." She tried the new title awkwardly at first, but after repeating Grandpa a few times, she grew surprisingly accustomed to it. Inside the bustling city, Xiao Yuaner's eyes sparkled as she grabbed 2 candied haws from a vendor. "Grandpa, this is so fun," she laughed. "Hey, you haven't paid," the vendor shouted, chasing after her. Annoyed, she snapped, "Get lost. It's your fortune that I'm eating your sweets. Keep talking and you'll regret it." Lu Zhou sighed helplessly. "Yuaner, pay him." At once, she shrank back, pouting as if deeply wronged. "Grandpa, he was so fierce. I listened to you and didn't even hit him," she muttered. Lu Zhou shook his head. "If everyone seized goods as you did, who would dare sell them?" Realizing her mistake, she handed the vendor a generous pile of gold and silver. The man's anger vanished instantly as he departed happily. Not far away, a crowd had gathered around something. Curious, Xiao Yuaner attempted to squeeze through but found herself blocked by tall, sturdy men. After several failed attempts, frustration overtook her. "Move aside!" she shouted, stomping her foot. With a loud crack, the stone-paved ground fractured beneath her. The surrounding crowd recoiled in fear and quickly parted. Several disciples responsible for recruiting at the market center noticed the commotion. One of them nodded approvingly and said, "Not bad, not bad. Young lady, would you like to join our sect? You have a good foundation." Kick just now had the strength of someone at the 5th level of the quenched body realm. Si Yuaner heard this and immediately felt disdain. "When did I say I want to join your stinking Azure Dragon Association?" A man who felt insulted stood up and shouted angrily, "You are bold, little girl. How dare you insult the Azure Dragon Association?" In response, Si Yuaner stomped and shattered the man's table. "What Azure Dragon Association? What are you doing here? Speak now, my grandpa is waiting." The man, now alert, tightened his grip on the weapon behind him. "How could you not know about the Azure Dragon Association?" Seeing him preparing to act, Lu Zhou walked over and snorted coldly. His voice, infused with a trace of inner power, clearly reached the man's ears. Sensing that inner power, the man mistakenly assumed Lu Zhou was only at the 7th or 8th level of the quenched body realm. Lu Zhou had no time to waste on them. He leaned in and whispered to Si Yuan, "You can use the Azure Dragon Association in Anyang to help investigate the matter concerning the SI family." Her eyes lit up at once and she turned to the group. "All of you, come here." The man's face darkened. This wild girl probably doesn't know that the backer of the Azure Dragon Association in Anyang is the Netherworld sect, right? What? The Netherworld sect? Si Yuan was visibly stunned. Isn't the leader of the Netherworld sect eldest senior brother? Lu Zhou frowned and looked at the man again. You're saying the backer of the Azure Dragon Association is the Netherworld sect? That's right, old man. I think you're not bad. Join the Azure Dragon Association as a lackey. You'll have good food and drink, and we'll protect you. Your granddaughter has more potential than you, and she's pretty too. I can speak to the sect master and let you both join together, the man said smugly. Si Yuan secretly glanced at Lu Zhou, thinking he remained silent because he was angry. Her master had told her not to kill indiscriminately, but he had not forbidden beating people. With that thought, her eyes brightened. She lifted her leg and kicked the man's chin fiercely. With a loud bang, his body was sent flying. She followed immediately, kicking his chest and punching his face, unleashing a rapid flurry of blows as the sounds of impact echoed through the market. Before long, the man collapsed to the ground, limp and barely conscious. Still angry, Si Yuan lifted his swollen pig-like face with the tip of her foot and stared at him coldly. Insolent. Do you think you can address my master like that? The onlookers retreated in fear. The remaining 2 members of the Azure Dragon Association finally reacted, drawing their weapons and shouting, "Is there no law? No order? How dare you assault someone in broad daylight?" Si Yuan kicked the fallen man aside and declared, "Not only can I beat people, I can kill them too." She chuckled, revealing her small tiger teeth, as strands of qi unconsciously emanated from her body. The 2 men were horrified. This was no quenched body realm. At the very least, she was a mystic enlightenment realm expert. Trembling, they immediately knelt and begged for mercy. Lu Zhou stepped forward and praised Si Yuan for her actions. She brightened and said, "They insulted you. I couldn't hold back. I had to teach them a lesson." Lu Zhou then looked at the kneeling men and asked, "Where is the main branch of the Azure Dragon Association?" One of them hurriedly replied, "In Anyang, 3 miles north of the ancient river." Lu Zhou's gaze turned cold. "I am new to Anyang and unfamiliar with the area. Go back and inform your leader that I will personally visit tomorrow." The 2 men quickly agreed and fled with their injured companion. Si Yuan's eyes shone. Master's plan is brilliant. Once we know their headquarters, we can deal with them properly. Lu Zhou stroked his beard helplessly. What a mess. I intend to use them to investigate the matter concerning the SI family. Then he looked at Si Yuan and asked, "After being away for so many years, do you still remember where your home is?" Yuan replied after hearing the question, "I only remember that there are 2 stone lions at the entrance of our house. My father loved martial arts, and my mother enjoyed embroidery." As she spoke, a trace of melancholy appeared on her face. Lu Zhou understood that Si Yuan had lived on the mountains since childhood and had never returned home, so it was natural that her memories were vague. Afterward, the 2 asked around the city and quickly located the SI family residence. Anyang was not large, and the SI family had once been prominent, so it was not difficult to gather information. When they arrived at the entrance, Yuan became excited and began dancing around, even trying to lift the stone lions to play with them. Lu Zhou quickly stopped her. "Since you've returned home, don't be so mischievous." They pushed open the gate and saw a steward-like man sweeping the courtyard. Seeing 2 villagers in disguise, the steward looked puzzled and asked who they were. Yuan eagerly stepped forward. "Where are my father and mother?" The steward was startled. "Who is this little girl? Your parents aren't here." Hearing this, Yuan's expression darkened, and she slapped the steward aside. "Move. Don't block my grandfather." Holding on to Lu Zhou, she headed toward the inner courtyard. The place looked desolate and cold. "You, come here." "Where are my father and mother?" she demanded angrily. The steward, confused, failed to recognize her. After all, she had left the SI family at a very young age. Lu Zhou glanced at him and asked his name. Rubbing his burning cheek, the steward stammered that he was Wang Fugui, the SI family's steward, and added that the SI family's manager had also been taken hostage. Lu Zhou then pointed to Yuan and said she was Si Yuan of the SI family. Wang Fugi swallowed, looked at her carefully, and immediately dropped to his knees, crying, "Miss, you finally returned. I am Wang Fugi." Yu Honor scratched her head. Though she had left young, she vaguely remembered him. After Wang Fugi's explanation, they learned that most members of the SI family had been abducted by a group called the Lakeside Gang. No one knew the gang's background or who was behind it, and their whereabouts were impossible to trace. Because the SI family had suffered repeated abductions in a short time, the remaining servants were too frightened to stay. They fled with whatever valuables they could carry. Only Wang Fugi had remained. After listening, Lu Zhou calmly sipped his tea and asked, "Why didn't you report this to the authorities?" Wang Fugi replied that they had reported it, but the officials found no clues. On the day of the abduction, everyone had been taken except a few servants who were out on errands. He had been in the outhouse and thus narrowly escaped. Curious, Yonar asked why he had not run away as well. Wang Fugi straightened and said firmly, "I was born a servant of the SI family, and even in death I will be a ghost of the SI family." Lu Zhou smiled faintly. "You are indeed loyal. However, keep Yuaner's return a secret. As for the SI family's abduction, I will investigate it myself." With that, he dismissed Wang Fugi and arranged for Yuaner to visit the Azure Dragon Association early the next morning to investigate the so-called Lakeside Gang. After settling everything, Lu Zhou lay down to rest. At that moment, the system's voice rang in his ear. "Complete the task to support Yuanmuxing. Reward, 200 merit points." He frowned at the task panel. Before leaving Jinting Mountain, he had assigned Ming Xian and Duan Muxing to repair the barrier together. However, the panel now only displayed Ming Xian. There was only one possibility. Duan Muxing was injured. Meanwhile, back at Jinting Mountain, Ming Xian felt puzzled after reading the letter left by Yuaner. He had not expected that Master would actually leave the mountain. He wondered what the old man was thinking. Duan Muxing, standing beside him, coughed lightly and speculated, "Perhaps he stayed on the mountain too long and wants to go out for a change, but doesn't want others to recognize him." Ming Xian stood up and nodded. "You may be right. Master has been acting differently lately. I can't figure him out. In the past, he relied solely on absolute strength and disdained schemes, believing all plans were meaningless in the face of true power." Duan Muxing sighed. "Maybe so. But repairing the barrier will fall to you, junior brother. My injury may take 3 to 5 months to recover." Just as he finished speaking, a towel suddenly smacked Duan Muxing in the face. "You're being too optimistic. At least pretend properly. Don't take advantage of the situation. We both grew up being beaten. Haven't we endured worse injuries than this? I'll give you 10 days. If it takes longer than that, I'm quitting. When Master returns, he can deal with you himself." Embarrassed, Duan Muxing sat up and said, "Junior brother, you're truly clever. 7 days should be enough. You can leave now. I need to focus on healing. It's not convenient for 2 grown men to stay in the same room." Hearing this, Ming Xian widened his eyes and shot him a look of disgust. "Ha!" he snorted, before turning and walking out. Early the next morning, while he was pondering matters in the courtyard, a flying letter approached. He stepped lightly and caught it. After reading it, his expression changed in shock. How did Master know that third senior brother was injured? He immediately scanned the surroundings, his aura surging outward as he sensed everything within several hundred meters. Aside from a few ordinary birds and animals, he detected nothing unusual. The absence of abnormalities only made him more uneasy, as if Master were secretly observing him from somewhere nearby. Thinking quickly, he dropped to his knees and shouted, "Master, your disciple did not mean any disrespect. Please rest assured, I will repair the barrier diligently and guard Jinting Mountain well." After saying this, he finally exhaled in relief and comforted himself. As long as he followed Master's arrangements, everything would be fine. At the same time, Lu Zhou was unaware of Ming Xian's anxious display. He was studying the human scroll among the 3 volumes of the heavenly writing. As his cultivation advanced, several new pages of text had appeared, leaving him speechless. The purpose of cultivating the heavenly writing was to improve his cultivation quickly, yet now he needed to raise his cultivation first just to unlock more of its contents. It felt somewhat counterproductive. Although he had entered the sense-condensing realm, He still felt like an ant before divine court realm experts. After reading a few pages, he lost interest. The thought of using the lottery crossed his mind, but he immediately dismissed it. That thing was addictive. He would consider it once he accumulated more merit points. Meanwhile, at the Azure Dragon Association stronghold, the leader Lu Jingfeng stood above with a frown. "You're saying the one who injured you was a young girl who looked 15 or 16, accompanied by an old man. What gives them the audacity to provoke the Azure Dragon Association?" The two subordinates below answered miserably. "We don't know. We were recruiting disciples on the streets of Anyang when that wild girl suddenly attacked and severely injured Elder Jian. The old man even said he would visit personally." With disdain, Lu Jingfeng ordered, "Take 20 brothers today and find those who injured Elder Jian." Just as he finished giving instructions, another subordinate rushed in. "Leader, there's a woman outside requesting an audience." "Refuse her," Lu Jingfeng said irritably, still in a foul mood. The subordinate hesitated. "She said her patience is limited, and while she can still obey her grandfather's order, she asks you to comply." Before he could finish, several loud bangs echoed, accompanied by cries of pain as a few figures were thrown inside. Lu Jingfeng's irritation turned into fury, and he immediately led his men out. At the entrance, Siyuaner was dragging an unconscious subordinate and said angrily, "I already told you, my patience is limited. It's already merciful that I didn't beat all of you. How dare you make me wait outside?" One of the men behind Lu Jingfeng recognized her and whispered nervously, "Leader, she's the one who injured Elder Jian." Lu Jingfeng's brows knitted together as he realized the young woman before him was no ordinary opponent. Siyuaner placed her hands on her waist and looked at them disdainfully. "So you're the so-called leader of the Azure Dragon Association? Don't think that being in the Brahma Sea realm makes you invincible." Without any intention of being modest, she only wanted to complete her master's task quickly. "I'm asking you, are you the leader of these little minions?" "I'm Lu Jingfeng, leader of the Azure Dragon Association's Anyang branch. My words carry weight here," he replied coldly. Siyuaner nodded slightly. "Good. That makes things simple. I have something for you to do." Lu Jingfeng's expression immediately darkened. When the branch leader had ever suffered such humiliation, he roared, "Enough! Take her down." And Lu Jingfeng's command was immediately understood by the archers, who released their arrows in a whoosh of wind. Yet Xiaoyaner remained standing with her hands behind her back, completely unmoved, and coldly declared, "Disobedient leader," at which moment the arrows suddenly halted in midair as several majestic bursts of aura erupted from her body, and the next instant, a thunderous explosion rang out, while that overwhelming aura crashed forward like an avalanche, reducing the surrounding buildings to rubble and leaving only Lu Jingfeng, barely resisting the force as his eyes widened in disbelief, realizing that she might actually be a Brahma Sea realm expert who had opened all 8 meridians, since the Brahma Sea realm required opening the conception and governor meridians to truly enter the realm and reaching its highest level after opening the remaining 6. And only when all 8 meridians were opened could a cultivator channel their energy to attack, making such an individual virtually invincible below the Divine Court realm, though no branch of the Azure Dragon Association could possibly station a Divine Court expert. So even as fellow Brahma Sea realm cultivators, Lu Jingfeng ultimately could not withstand the pressure, and was sent flying to crash into a distant wall before hurriedly pleading for mercy as he regained his senses, while Xiaoyaner floated toward him as if nothing had happened, and clenched her fists. "I didn't expect you to be a Brahma Sea realm expert with all 8 meridians open. Please forgive my lack of recognition. I beg you to spare me. Let's talk this through." And seeing the fear in his eyes, she stated her purpose. "I have something to ask of you. Help me investigate the Lakeside Gang, the ones behind the CI family kidnapping," to which Lu Jingfeng looked bewildered and replied, "I've never heard of that name." But she insisted. "They orchestrated the kidnapping of the CI family. Give me 3 days and find their whereabouts." And upon hearing the connection to that prominent household, he broke into a cold sweat, saying, "A gang bold enough to abduct the CI family is beyond the Azure Dragon Association's control." Though Xiaoyaner merely stared at him and clenched her fists, prompting him to tremble and quickly respond, "My lady, I will discover the Lakeside Gang's location within 3 days," after which she nodded in satisfaction and approached one of his subordinates, asking, "Was it you who shot arrows at me earlier?" And the terrified man shook, his head violently in denial. Yet she simply said, "It was you," and lightly stepped on the ground beside him, leaving a clear footprint in the solid floor with a loud crack before mocking, cowered, and departing the association's gates with an imposing demeanor while warning, "Be obedient. If you do not do as I say, I will wipe out the entire Azure Dragon Association," leaving the area in stunned silence as the subordinate nearly fainted on the spot, and Lu Jingfeng, after recovering from his shock, wondered with deep suspicion how such a young and powerful cultivator had appeared in Anyang, since if any other faction had caused trouble they might have been killed, yet this girl merely injured them and assigned a task, making the situation extremely strange, and he questioned whether the city even possessed such a force. Please subscribe to help me provide you with more recaps.